Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Want to know how Tony Walker Financial is so successful in helping thousands of savers worry less about money? It's called transformation.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, retirement specialist, and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Each week, myself and the rest of the crew at WorryFree Productions discuss and plan the week's show for TV and radio. Our goal is simple: to introduce new ideas that savers may not have considered about their money and, of course, their retirement. With each show, my hope is that our viewers and listeners will come away with a better understanding of what we do at Tony Walker Financial and what makes us so different from the rest of the financial world. Today's show is no exception, especially for those of you in search for an advisor and a firm you can trust with your retirement money. So, what makes Tony Walker Financial so unique, and how do we provide over-the-top service for our clients? It's called transformation. Let me explain. So, assuming you are a saver and retired for years or thinking of retiring in the very near future, I've got a very important question to ask of you. Does your current advisor or the financial institution that has your money have in place for you a written game plan that is easy to monitor and easy to follow? That's the question. Do they or do they not? Well, what I've learned in meeting with thousands of savers these past 40 years who come to me for a second opinion, in most cases, they do not have a written game plan or any kind of process in place to follow, period. Well, that's because the financial world has never transformed from peddling financial products to creating a process of over-the-top service that is focused, listen, on you, the customer. This is something I wanted to do and began doing some 25 years ago, creating a process of service with the products being secondary to the process. And while I've studied under some great minds on this subject, one of the most influential persons I've studied is this man who literally transformed the automobile industry of all resources, a Mr. Edwards Deming. Of the many works by Mr. Deming, this one, called Out of the Crisis, drove home the point to me when, after the tragic events of 9/11, I realized I had no process in place to service my customers' retirement as I helplessly watched their accounts go down and, just like every other clueless advisor, was left to sheepishly tell my clients to just hang in there. 25 years ago, I knew I needed a process in place to better assist my clients so that they could be worry-free, but one that didn't know existed until I read this book. A book that transformed not only the automobile industry, but transformed Tony Walker Financial into what I truly believe is the most unique planning firm in the industry. How do I know this? Because of the rave reviews our clients give us about our service, not the reviews they give us about the products we sell. So what makes us so different from the rest of the financial world? Well, when I return, we'll talk about this on the WorryFree Retirement. So you need to stay tuned. If you're retired or retiring soon, I'm Tony Walker, and I've got some good news to share with you about our process. We'll be right back.
My name is Mark Williams, and I've been in the financial services industry for around 30 years now. I'm the CEO and president of Brokers International in Des Moines, Iowa. At Brokers International, to put it simply, we help agencies and financial professionals grow their business. We offer live support, digital tools and services, and several ways to submit both annuity and life insurance applications. Right now, we service around 4,500 financial professionals nationwide. The one thing I continually see with the successful financial professionals that we work with is that they have a repeatable process of doing business and providing service to their customers. Tony Walker is one example of those financial professionals that utilizes a repeatable process. We started providing our services to Tony and his firm a few years ago. I think what makes him so successful is that he's got such a well-oiled machine, a process that he's created himself. In fact, I flew my team out to Kentucky so we could see it face to face how Tony consistently provides that service. When it comes to his process, I found that one thing Tony does really well is hire more service professionals to help him so that he can continue to see and help more people. Tony has figured out that in order to service thousands of clients with top-notch service, you have to have a process, a way to duplicate what you do day in and day out. I'd invite you to give a call to Tony Walker.
Welcome back to Fun Facts. I'm Trey Juergens, full-time fiduciary here in the Louisville office.
And I'm Wes Walker, full-time fiduciary in Louisville.
So what we're going to talk about today, Wes, is index funds. There's a very well-known John Bogle quote about why go looking for the needle when you can buy the whole haystack. And all it's really talking about is diversifying and tracking indexes instead of going and trying to catch lightning in a bottle and get that one stock. So speak a little bit to why index funds are useful, especially in retirement planning.
Sure. So an index fund, really all it is just, again, a basket of stocks or bonds. It's just tracking a major index. So if you look on TV and you hear a talking head talking about the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones or the NASDAQ, those are just major indices or indexes. And what you can do, you can put money into these indexes and hold them for a long period of time, and it's what's called passive investing.
Sure.
There is no picking of individual stocks. Basically what happens is you just buy that whole haystack, that whole group of companies, and let it simmer for as long as you need to. And typically those market caps of the companies inside that index fund will grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and you'll eventually, hopefully, have more money than you started with. Now there's a difference here between index investing and active investing. Active investing is where someone actually does pick companies. They pick individual stocks inside of a mutual fund. And we've covered this before on the show, but typically most active investors fail at their mission, especially over long periods of time. And they charge a lot of fees to do so. So for the most part, with our saver clients, we typically use index funds that track major broad-based indices.
Very good. Thank you, Wes.
Absolutely.
I like your graphics today. Now we're going to start off this segment with this one on the monitor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that index fund, the fun facts, did the graphics make sense in that? Because I'm not sure. I looked into index funds and I want to make sure to illustrate it right. I don't know if I fully understand.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, think of an index fund this way, Derek. Let's say you were interested in buying some property in Louisville. Maybe you're going to buy a piece of property in a certain end of town, just that one piece of property. You with me?
Okay.
Well, something could happen to that end of town, or a new road goes in somewhere else. I mean, that's kind of risky to buy one piece of property, right?
Okay.
What about for the same amount of money, you could buy 50 pieces of property all over Louisville, just in case something happened to one or two of them, then the other 48 or so would be protected. That would probably make a little more sense in terms of diversification, right?
Okay, so just pieces of a property spread out.
Spread out. Yeah, so if something happens to one of them, the others are protected.
Okay.
So that's really what an index fund is. It's buying a lot of different properties, if you will, mutual funds, stocks, whatever, rather than just one stock.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
There's it.
Good stuff. Well, thanks. Yeah, that's good. Well, welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. And before we learn more about this man, Edwards Deming, I need to take a minute to share with you an important change in the law called the Fairness Act. Now, this act can be of great benefit for those federal employees and some state employees who, because of their current pensions, are negatively impacted by something called WEP, or Windfall Elimination Provision. Now, to help us understand this positive change to Social Security benefits, we're going to do a Zoom meeting with our in-house Social Security specialist at Tony Walker Financial, Miss Lisa Allerkamp, to help us along with this. Well, good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Tony.
And I've been anxious to speak to you, so tell us basically what is this Fairness Act and who might it impact?
Sure. The Social Security Fairness Act was signed into law in January, and it ends the windfall elimination provision, also known as WEP, and it ends the government pension offset, also known as GPO. The WEP provision reduced benefits for people who have a non-covered pension, a pension that they receive from employment and did not pay into Social Security, and they're also eligible for Social Security through other covered earnings. The GPO, it reduced, or depending on the amount of the pension, could even eliminate someone's eligibility for a spousal or survivor benefit if they had an uncovered pension.
It's really interesting, and it was ironic because as we record this show on February 25th, 2025, you and I were preparing for this particular segment, and we already had everything laid out. Had a couple came in yesterday, a client for a client review, and they said, "We got good news." And I said, "What's that?" And said, "We're going to get an extra $1,600 a month from Social Security." And they caught me off guard. So describe that situation, because I piped you in on the calls so you could hear. But what happened there exactly?
Sure. The situation was the wife had an uncovered pension. So prior to this law being passed, her pension was the amount that it eliminated her from being eligible for a spousal benefit. Now that this law has passed, her uncovered pension does not make her ineligible for a spousal benefit, and she can now claim that.
And this is particularly important because in the past, if a spouse who passed away who was eligible for Social Security, that other spouse, like this young lady, would probably not get any benefits as a survivor, correct?
Exactly. It affects the survivor benefit as well.
Very interesting. And what's the best thing to do if people want to find out about this?
Two scenarios. If you are currently receiving a benefit that's being reduced by WEP or GPO, the best thing to do is just double check and confirm Social Security has your current information, address, and direct deposit information so they can adjust your benefit as quickly as possible, keeping in mind they are estimating it might be over a year before all benefits are adjusted. Now, as far as the GPO, since it could completely eliminate the spousal or survivor benefit, some people may not have even applied for it. So if that's your case, you may want to apply now.
And just maybe even call the Social Security office. I think these folks said that's what they did, and they were very helpful. So, Lisa, thank you for your time, and you make it a good day.
Thank you. You too, Tony.
Shortly after the tragic events of 9/11, I began to search and create a process to improve my company's services to my clients so that I could be more efficiently there to help them worry less about money and, of course, worry less about their retirement. I knew that simply tossing all of their money into financial products and hoping for the best was not the answer. No, I needed a well-thought-out process that would provide safety and security for my clients' money, and most important, a service that would be there for them whenever they needed us at Tony Walker Financial. Seeing my need to learn more about process, a client of mine who happened to work in the automobile manufacturing field gave me his personal signed copy of this book authored by Mr. Edwards Deming called Out of the Crisis. Edwards Deming, not to be confused with my former friend, client, and longtime golfing buddy, well-known golfer Buddy Demling. No, Edwards Deming was someone who literally transformed the automobile industry back in the 1970s and 1980s at a time when the U.S. automobile world was creating inferior products. And seeing as though the companies in the U.S. wouldn't listen to Deming and his transforming concepts for better efficiencies, he took his theories and processes to Japan where, well, we know the rest of the story. He brought those same practices and processes back to the U.S., which transformed the automobile industry here as well. As Mr. Deming puts it, in order to survive, one must be willing to transform. And that applied to me following 9/11. I realized that what the financial world had taught me, that this was all about selling products and managing money, was not the key to my success nor my clients. No, I needed a process that focused on the needs of my clients and what they wanted for their money. Products alone could not and will never alleviate the worries of savers. There must be a process in place that gives them peace of mind. Funny, people assume that since I've been in this business for more than 40 years, that I'll soon be retiring. But on the contrary, I never see myself retiring if Tony Walker Financial can continue to find ways to be more efficient by helping more and more savers worry less about money. After 9/11, my thinking was transformed. I had to convert from serving the financial world and instead start focusing on serving the customer. I knew that creating a process focused on the customer and one they could understand and follow was the key. I took to heart this truism from Mr. Deming when he said, "If you cannot describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing." And folks, I hate to tell you this, but that's why you're worrying so much over your hard-earned money, because you don't have a process in place. The advisors of the financial world, they can't tell you what they're doing, nor give you a track to run on and follow through retirement. But we can. We have the process in place, and we know what we are doing. You see, a successful process has very little to do with whether you own an annuity, invest in stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. These are simply the byproducts of the process, but the products themselves are not the process. So where can you begin to learn more about our unique way of doing business with our process at Tony Walker Financial? First, see what others are saying about our process by simply logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and take a close look at all of the Google reviews. Notice that almost all of them mention nothing about products, but it's all about the service and the staff at Tony Walker Financial. The second thing you can do is, for a limited time only, order a free copy of this book, The WorryFree Retirement Process, which outlines our work at Tony Walker Financial and the unique strategies we use that the financial world does not understand. To get your free copy for this limited time, just email Gina at TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and after reading this book, you'll see the difference a process can make in your plans for retirement. And then finally, to see if our process can help you, take advantage of talking to me, the owner of the company, by simply taking advantage of something we call the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. And during this phone call, you and I will talk for a few minutes to see if we can help. And if we can, guess what? We're going to meet in person to lay out a game plan at no cost or obligation to you. So to take advantage of this free phone call, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started, or you can call us anytime to arrange this call by just simply calling 877-499-9255. Well, when we return, interesting that the Bible also talks about this concept of transforming or transformation, but it also talks about the idea that we must convert our thinking in order to be transformed. Good stuff coming your way. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for over 40 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To see if you can retire now, take advantage of our free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with me, Tony Walker, by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 877-499-9255. So, Juanita, you know how much I enjoy this book on Mr. Deming, and we're talking about process. And of all the people I could have in the office, all of our staff loves processes, but you really love the process that we have here at Tony Walker Financial. So first of all, start back a little bit about your background before joining Tony Walker Financial.
So before I started working in this firm, I worked with ag and commercial lending and mortgage lending. So still a financial background, but a little bit different process for certain.
Yeah, and I know we were talking before we went on air here. I mean, it's really similar in a lot of ways because of all the details and all the different types of mortgages. So it's not a cookie cutter deal, is it?
It never is. Mortgages are quite different. There are a lot of options, and we have a lot of options also for our clients. So it's definitely tailored to their needs, and the processes are in place, but are flexible enough to change with the needs that are with what we need to meet.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about a true process. It has to be flexible. Now, since you've been here at Tony Walker Financial, what, a couple of years now?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. What would you say to somebody that says, is Tony Walker Financial very dedicated to processes, and is that an important part of what we do here in terms of our work for our clients?
It's very important. There's a high level of structure and a high level of commitment to quality control with all of the products and with all of the processes. So I would say we are definitely highly committed to that and always aspiring to improve the processes where we see an area that could benefit.
Oh, that's well said. Now I'm getting a quote. I'm still in a quote here from Mr. Deming. I love this quote. He says, in order to survive, I think he's talking about anything but organizations, one must be willing to transform. So in the 2.5 years you've been here, how have we transformed as an organization in terms of our processes?
Well, Tony, to say that we're not willing to transform would really be an understatement. We're constantly striving to improve the process. We've added staff. We've added additional steps to the process to make it easier, more efficient, and to better serve the clients every day.
And the technology, we won't name the technology. We're not going to give anybody kudos or anything like that, but we have spent a lot of time and money on new technologies in order to free up our time. So speak to how excited we are about the ability to serve even more and more savers as more and more of these savers enter this world of retirement.
It's really going to open up our ability to have all of our information close at hand to serve clients quickly, to get them to an answer quickly. Not that we haven't always been committed to that, but we're launching forward with some new products and technology that is really going to put us at another level.
And we are so excited about it. And again, thank you so much for all you do for our clients and your dedication to the process and transforming to help more and more savers worry less about money.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. Our client spotlight today shines brightly on Ron and Diana Foster, and welcome to the studios here at WorryFree Productions. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tony.
Tell us a little bit about the process you went through in finding an advisor and the number of years. Actually, you said you've kind of been considering this.
We found you on the television, watched it a couple times, and we found ourselves kind of learning as we go.
What was it about Tony Walker Financial that finally put the decision in your hands to say, let's do this?
Who we talked to before wasn't really a good fit. Coming here, this was our home.
Yeah. Gave us the tools and things to help us understand the process and become comfortable with this choice. And Ron said it best, it was a good fit because we felt like our investment money, our hard-earned dollar, could be put into different buckets that were more secure for us in the future.
Would you describe, if you don't mind, I'm very proud of the staff here, as you know, the feelings you've had in terms of working with the staff and the ease of the staff? Any comments about that so far?
From the time we walked in the door, everyone here, it was an easy process for us to come in and get to know everybody. And when we left, we talked about it. It was an easy choice to make. We were still getting the tools necessary to understand the process, and that was sent home with us as well. So when we decided this is a good fit, Ron said, this is where I feel comfortable in making sure my money for the future is secure.
Well, good. Well, we're glad to have you on board and look forward, hopefully, to many years of serving your retirement needs. So thank you, Fosters.
Thank you very much, Tony.
You're welcome.
Looking for an advisor you can trust? Schedule your free phone call with Tony at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 1-877-499-9255.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement with the money missionary himself, Tony Walker.
Earlier in the show, we talked about this book, Out of the Crisis, and its author, Edwards Deming, an engineer who years ago transformed the automobile industry from one of spiraling downward to one of creating better cars in a more efficient way. According to Deming, the key to success in providing a great product and a great service was summed up in this powerful truth. In order to survive, one must be willing to transform. And as I researched this word transform, I noticed that along with transforming or changing, one must also be converted in their former way of thinking to a new way of processing or seeing the future, to look at things differently, totally different than before, and to see things in a new way, possibly ways they've never thought of before. The Bible speaks frequently of this notion of being transformed or converted. The Apostle Paul, upon his transformation, saw himself and those who were converted by God's Holy Spirit as not the same persons at all, but rather as new creatures. But did God need to transform the hearts and minds of his children, and why would he do this? Why would us humans need to be converted from one way of thinking and seeing the world to something totally different? In Philippians 3:20 and 3:21, we see a transformation or a converting of what Paul was seeing as he realized that he and those who chose to follow this man Christ no longer were citizens of this world, but rather their minds had been transformed to see that their true citizenship lied in heaven. Paul reminds us believers that when we get to heaven, our earthly bodies will also be transformed into new bodies that will appear glorious, just like God. A wonderful transforming way to look at life and death for those who have certainly lost loved ones or, unfortunately, in the process of literally withering away as we speak. By faith, God promises to transform not only our bodies, but thankfully also our thoughts, taking us from fear and gloom and doom to joy and excitement. As the Bible puts it, we anxiously await this transformed body. And who is responsible for this transformation? Well, in 2 Corinthians 3:18, it reveals that it is God's own Spirit that is doing the work. 1 Corinthians 15:52 says that one day God's trumpet will sound and the perishable, that's you and I, will be made imperishable, which means we're going to be transformed simply by faith and trust in the finished work of Jesus Christ. This spiritual transformation of converting our thinking from being consumed with this world to now anxious to be in heaven with God is a wonderful process indeed. But Tony, you might be asking, what in God's creation does this powerful transforming grace have to do with me and my money? Well, friend, if you're looking at these scriptures in terms of how to better manage your money, you're out of luck. But if you are seeking to be transformed in what will happen to you and your money after you die, then these scriptures are the best news of all, because in the end, as I write in my book, Live Well, Die Broke, what we have in the way of money means nothing because, that's right, you really can't take it with you. In other words, we all die broke. No, what these scriptures can do for you and your money is to remind you to stop worrying about the things that don't matter and instead focus on the things that do. Amen? Well, what about you? Has this show transformed your thinking into maybe it's time for a second opinion on your finances and what in the heck you're doing that you can worry less about your money in retirement? Well, assuming you have an advisor or a 401k with some big financial institution out there, do you really think they're sitting around trying to improve their process to benefit you, or maybe thinking how your money can benefit them? Well, here's my suggestion. If you are a saver and retired or nearing retirement, let's talk. And we've made this so easy to do, and best of all, it's free. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, and here's how easy it is for you to talk with the owner of the company, that's right, Tony Walker, for a few minutes to see if we can help. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and once there, you're going to click on that little Let's Get Started button. Now, once you click on that button, we're going to arrange this free phone call, and after we talk, if I think I can be of service, we're going to meet in person to lay out our proprietary game plan and show you how our process is second to none. Internet not your thing? No worries. Just give us a call 24/7. That number is 877-499-9255. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We've enjoyed being with you, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and you make it a good one.